Hey, welcome to another episode of Growing with the Minister. I'm the minister, and welcome to the show. I've got a little bit to discuss with people, discuss with whoever would like to join this video and take a peek at it. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I'll be coming out with a lot more videos. I've been down for a while, fighting a pretty serious disease. Excuse me, and it's kicked my butt a few times, but no worries. Things are starting to look a little bit better. I'm starting to feel a little bit better, so hopefully I can get back to my normal self and um, start putting more videos out. Start talking more about some serious issues. Uh, Sometimes it'll be political. Sometimes it'll be religious. Sometimes it'll be philosophical. But I really believe there are things that we need to discuss today. What I'd like to, talk about is Jesus. Yeah, the Jesus Christ, the dude from the Bible. Supposedly what Christianity is all based off of. Of course, that's argumentable, questionable in some facts, but um, I'd like to talk about what's recorded about this person, um, whether it be actually factual or not. There's a lot of question to that, and I want to get by that. Um, Beyond the questioning whether it's factual, let's just take what is given to those who read it. The example I believe that this person was supposed to be about. From what I gather and I've read and I've learned throughout my 30 plus years of biblical studies, this man was not politically involved whatsoever. And finding out a little more about the history of Jerusalem, Israel at the time, and what was going on politically, excuse me, with the Romans occupying the area. Of course, then the emperor Caesar started to incorporate Rome's money within that country's setting. Of course, they had their own money, they had their own way of commerce. Uh, but when they started to involve the Roman money, that caused the leaders of Jerusalem to then also become involved with Roman money, and then now making decisions based on Roman currency. The money changers, for example, if you're familiar with that story, when Jesus went into the temple and got all angry and started turning over the money changers' tables, that's a great example. It seems like to me that Jesus didn't want anything or his people to have anything to do with Roman currency. That's what this was about. They were there in the temple changing the local people's monies for Roman currency. And of course, whose face is on the Roman currency but Caesar's, right? All right, this comes then to the whole story about should you pay taxes, and I love how the authors of the Bible will boldly put that at the top of this part of the Bible. Should you pay taxes? And these Pharisees and Sadducees, the way the story goes, comes up to Jesus, and they were like, let's try to trick him. We'll ask him, should he pay taxes? Jesus, you know, according to the way the Bible is written, is a highly intelligent individual. And then he was like, well, whose face is on that coin? And they were like, Caesar's. And he's like, well, give it back to him. It's his money. He's not saying for them to pay taxes in the sense. What he's saying is, That's that guy's money. You have his money. That if he wants it, give it back to him. It's that simple. But it also seems like to me he's relaying don't have nothing to do with that money. It's that easy. Now, this is the whole tricky part with them because of how they announced this story in the Bible. Like I said, they have it in bold right above, the story itself saying, "Should you pay taxes?" That's a foolish thing. That's a foolish thing. You have to know about the Pharisees. You have to do a little bit of research about rabbinic history to find out, these people weren't unintelligent. They have their own records of this time period along with the Romans. Now, this is who Josephus Flavius was. He came about just after Jesus' crucifixion, about 60 AD, and he was actually given the power to be the Roman historian by the Flavius family. So he knew, but he was also from a very well known Jewish family, a very wealthy Jewish family, whose bloodline went back for thousands of years. So they were kind of powerful, from what I understand. But Josephus writes about this time period just afterwards, or within um, the Jerusalem uh, defending themselves against the Roman occupation. So, uh, he gives an example of the political happenings in that specific area. Also, there's another really a good writer that wrote a book. His name is Chaim Jacoby, and he was a historian, and he wrote a book called The Mythmaker, how Paul created Christianity, and he gives a lot of detail in his book about how rabbinic life was, what it took to be a rabbi, the laws of the rabbinic code or within Israel or Jerusalem. Um, and he gives that example of who was who during this time period of Jesus, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and most importantly, the Essenes, who John the Baptist is expected to be one of these individuals, these Essenes. They were a subsect of the Pharisees. But they did not. They withdrew themselves completely from the scene and went and lived out in the desert in a huge, rocky, cliffy type of monument almost, natural formation, and dug it out and lived in this like just this big rock out in the desert. Jesus speaks about going out in the desert several times, and we know that from the Bible. John the Baptist wore camel hide and ate locusts and honey. Now, Josephus also had a guru like John the Baptist, and he writes about this guru, and he went and spent 3 months with him, doing exactly as this guru did. Now, this guru, explained by Josephus, were nothing but plant material for clothing, and he ate nothing but plants. So he had a very specific diet to go by. Now, he was an Essene. This gentleman lived out in the desert. So Josephus, like Jesus, went out into the desert and spent these multiple days, like the 40 days and 40 nights out there, doing as this guru did, fasting, praying, or meditating even. So we see that if John the Baptist was in the scene and practiced not involving themselves in the economic turmoil that was brought to them by the Romans introducing their central banking. Yeah, that's exactly what is going on. It was like Jesus is saying, don't involve yourself with central banking. It, 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 these are the connections I make. And the reason I think I make these connections is because I do not read the Bible with somebody that is taught the way to read the Bible by the Christians. And I think the example of how they make that large, dark lettering at the beginning of these verses saying, should you pay taxes? But yet Jesus never says, yeah, you should pay taxes. He literally tells them not to even play with that money. Give it back to the guy, it's his. Makes sense to me. Hey, thank you for this conversation. I hope you like it again. Give me a thumbs up if you do. Go ahead and leave a comment with your ideas. You're a free person. I'm a free person. We all have ideas. And I love it when people share their ideas with me. I love it when people share what they've learned with me. I, I'm all about learning. Always have been. Another thing I would like to bring up real quick, I think it's important to share this with everybody, is this. What was Jesus' reasoning being here? I think, from what I've learned, his whole reason to be here was to be example for knowing exactly what it takes to be a real human being. And the biggest part of that is taking care of those who cannot take care of themselves. The fatherless, the widowed, the downtrodden. And this forgiveness. I think that's the biggest thing that me, myself, have learned in this life. This is the biggest life lesson for me, is to learn how to forgive. And I'm sure that's a lot of people's life lesson, is to learn how to forgive. And this is what he did. He took all those sins against him and sought no revenge on anybody. And he forgave them, and he died with that forgiveness. Now, if the story is real, if heaven and hell is real, when you pass and you do have to go and face the creator of all about the life you had, would you go to him with this hate in your heart? Do you think that's what he's looking for? Or it's looking for? Him, her, whatever you want to call it? That hatred toward other human beings? I can't imagine that. I just can't imagine any wonderful creative being would, as what's supposed to be from the Bible, would, you know, um, judge a person in a positive way for having hatred, especially having hatred toward others in his name. It is, I don't know. I didn't think this is what Jesus was all about. And if you want to believe that Jesus is God or the Son of God, and he's a forgiven, omnipotent being, um, then I don't know if I could approach this being in this most important point of time and say, hey, yeah, I hate people. What I do is I hate people's actions. Um, and I try not even to put myself in a position where I would want to hate a person. But it's hard in this world, I'm telling you. That's why I think it's probably one of the most important life lessons anybody can learn, is is to learn how to forgive. Hey, maybe that's enough for today, but I really enjoyed this talk. I appreciate everybody that pays attention to this, and you know, remember, love your neighbor. There's nothing to lose to love your neighbor, and then work up to loving your enemy, because you have everything to gain when you learn to love your enemy. Peace out, people.